From the dugout to the college admissions board, this is where the next generation of talent is forged. Welcome to the Recruiting Roundtable.
Hello, this is Mike Silvestri of Florida Diamond Recruiting Services and the Recruiting Roundtable. Today, we're pretty excited to announce having Jorge Perez from St. Thomas University over here in Miami Gardens, Florida. This is the second part of our continuing part of having college coaches from different levels, the different levels of play come on board and discuss their program, discuss what they're looking for, tell us a little bit about themselves and all that type of stuff. So Jorge, welcome to the Recruiting Roundtable. Looking forward to this and appreciate you taking the time in a busy spring schedule. You guys kick off. So I know your background, Jorge. I'm a New Jersey native, so I know the Kane College background. I have a cousin who actually played basketball and softball there.
Okay.
So coming from North Jersey myself, let's start with telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got from Jersey to Miami, Florida.
Well, I got to St. Thomas almost by mistake. I started coaching at Kane, like you said. I played about 3.5 years of professional baseball, and my brother happened to be a freshman at Kane University at the time. So I went to see a practice, and from 1 second to the next, after the practice, the coach needed a catching guy, so kind of volunteered my services, and then I just started at Kane, and I was there for the next 3 years. During the Florida trip, you know how all the northern schools start somewhere warm in the beginning of the year. One of the, two of the seasons were here at St. Thomas, and my father was down here, and I've been wanting to come to Miami for a while. I just kind of got sick of the cold weather and coaching in that type of environment, so I came down and I saw the great Manny Mantrana coach that team.
Yeah, the late Manny
and watching Manny and the way he conducted himself and his professionalism and the way he was doing things sparked my interest. And that's how I started just talking to him, expressing to him that I was interested in possibly coming down if anything opened up. It took a little bit of persistence, I guess, but he gave me that opportunity. I became his grad assistant my first year, then became his full-time assistant the third year. So that's what started here, got me to St. Thomas. I never thought I would come down here, but I knew a lot about St. Thomas before that. Playing at Rollins College when I was in school there, Lou Sanchez was on the team here. I had friends that played at St. Thomas that I grew up with, so I knew a little bit of their history. So I thought St. Thomas would be a good place to start and see what would happen. So that's how I ended up at STU.
Very nice. Now the program itself. Being a South Florida native, I know the history of the program. There's a lot of storied history with St. Thomas University, from former general managers in Major League Baseball to current SEC coaches in Paul Mainieri. Tell us a little bit about, we got the background there, and I'm glad you have that in your background. Tell us a little bit about your Team USA experience with Coach Mainieri.
Well, I mean, Coach Mainieri, when you go back and ask him what made him decide to put me on his staff, it was a relationship that we had built for the last 7, 8, 9 years. When I first got to St. Thomas, one of my first phone calls was to him, not knowing that he was the coach here. I saw him on the program. I gave him a call, and what I thought was going to be a 3-minute conversation ended up an hour conversation. We built a good friendship from that point on. I still talk to Paul probably once or twice. Once a week, twice a month, I stay in touch with him. But those conversations, and he saw the love I had for the school, and I was going to really work my hardest here to make St. Thomas the best it could possibly be. And those conversations and going back and forth, and the friendship was really what gave me the opportunity to be on the USA staff, and that alone was an unbelievable experience, man. Just being on that staff, I think I was the only NAIA coach, on that staff, for sure on that staff. But I think one of the only NAIA coaches in the history of that program. Very few, Division II or NAIA coaches get that opportunity. So I was very, very humbled and appreciative that he gave me the opportunity to be there.
Yeah, no, that's a huge honor. Let's and Paul this goes back to, I'm an old Monsignor Pace guy. When I met you back in the day when we were working
Right.
camps and Coach Morris was there, who I happened to get to see a couple of weeks ago at a speaking engagement. It was great to catch up with him. It had been a few years. Um, you know, you look at some of the traditions there, like being a Monsignor Pace guy, you know, we're basically at the time, it's still separated by the right field fence. I mean, the right field fence is what separates one campus to the next, both Archdiocese and Miami schools. You
Yeah.
know, and to hear Paul tell stories about, I think he was a history teacher or science, and he would walk across the right field fence to start his coaching career at St. Thomas University. So there's a lot of times you drop Lou Sanchez and that jersey behind me that's kind of cut off a little bit. Lou is Lou is, you know, for those who don't know, Lou Sanchez, great baseball guy, great human being. Lou is the current area scout for the Atlanta Braves. And back when Lou was a high school coach, my first major league player in my second year as an area scout at the Anaheim Angels was Sean Rodriguez, Lou was the head coach there. And Lou to this day probably throws as good a BP as anybody in the game of baseball. He did that for us that day with our director in town. So a lot of tie-ins. Let's touch a little bit. You know, one of the things I want to accomplish here today is first off, tell us about, you know, and we'll get into what NAIA baseball is for those who don't know and want to educate the general, you know, the people out there that what a great level of play and opportunity this is. Talk a little bit about the Bobcat culture and what do you look for and whether you're, you know, whatever player you're recruiting, high school, junior college, or a potential transfer.
Well, as you know, you're in an environment that's constantly changing with recruiting. I'm sure with the rules that has happened the last 5 or 6 years has made even what you do for a living and what you try to do and help players, it made it challenging. It's not an easy field to be in. Bobcat culture, we have, when players come in here, there's a certain way that we do things, you know. And my vision was always, as a baseball coach, is when you have your juniors and seniors teaching your freshmen and sophomores how things are done, you know, how we prepare for games, how we prepare for practice, how we conduct ourselves, how we walk into classrooms, how we take care of the clubhouse. All those things are very important to us. And when you take care of all those things, the culture happens itself. I've never once talked about winning. Now we're all about, we try to be all about winning. But we don't. That's not what we emphasize our energy on. We emphasize our energy on, you know, doing things right, being on time, giving 100% on and off the field, being a loyal teammate, respecting the school, the Bobcat name on your chest, wear with an enormous amount of pride. So we concentrate on those things, and all of a sudden our culture has happened by itself. The winning has happened by itself. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you're a baseball guy. You need good players. You're not going to go anywhere. I don't care how good of a coach you are or what system you have in place. If you don't have talented players, especially when, you know, at the level we're trying to get to every year, it's going to be very difficult. So the culture itself has built itself over time, and I've concentrated again only on doing what I think is best for the program, being honest with players, being respectful to them as well as them to myself and the coaching staff. It's all, we call it the law of average. Every little thing counts, and when you do that over and over, you're going to get good results. So that's the culture. When everybody talks about culture and everything, to them is a different definition. To us, it's just doing the little things extremely well, or trying to do the little things extremely well, and then the big things will take care of themselves.
Okay. Those are all great points. Parents, student athletes out there that are you know, looking to play collegiate baseball. These are things that matter in general life as it is, and obviously translates to the game of baseball. Talk a little bit about, like, we have a left-handed pitcher that was one of our clients coming to you, Columbus kid, Julian Casanas. Tell us a little bit about when you, like, what's the difference for you, like because you still do recruit, which, you know, families listen to this, you still recruit the high school player. And I know you go after a very specific thing. Yes. And you go after, and you kind of look for a little difference from what I know of, George, and what you do and what you've told us. Like, there's a certain aspect that you're looking for if you're looking for a high school in pitching, where maybe maybe it's a little bit different for the position player, and how does that kind of coordinate with the JUCO thing and the transfer thing? So tell us, like, when you're when you go see a high school pitcher that you think can potentially fit for St. Thomas University and compete, and again, we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but compete at this level of play that if you haven't seen it, go see a game, families. It's really good baseball. It's very competitive baseball. Just like when I was a junior college coach and a player would say to me, well, come see us play. And then tell us. So same thing here, but tell us what is an attribute that you're looking for that from a high school standpoint and a pitching standpoint and a position player standpoint that can translate to helping St. Thomas University win within their culture.
Well, and Mike, that's a great question. We've changed, in 2012 through 18 and 19, we wanted to get a lot of local players, and it was on purpose, but it wasn't. And the reason I say local guys is because there's something about the player that lives in Miami, the Fort Lauderdale area, Dayton, Broward. Those kids have a very difficult time leaving the state. Correct. And just making the adjustment of how different it is everywhere else than it is to here. Also, the Latin kid has a problem. Not all of them, but they have sometimes troubles adjusting somewhere up north. Again, that doesn't go for everyone. So we were a school that was a big bounce back school. Got the kid that would go Division I, maybe a Division II that they weren't happy with, and we would take a lot of notes when they were in high school and have a lot of their numbers and bounce back a lot of those players. The transfer portal in 2020 changed all that. So we had to make stark adjustments to what we did, and we got burned a little bit on the field. You can see our record for a couple of years there wasn't where it used to be because we weren't getting that Division I player that had experience, that had ability to come and play for us. Now, what we used to do is bring out those Division I guys, sprinkle in some junior college guys, and try to get the best high school players that we could. Because I still believe with high school kids is that when high school players come in and they're patient and they're hard workers and they have ability, what happens is you start getting a player that you almost mold to what your system is and what you do. That's the one part I love about high school players, that if they stick around and they believe in what we're doing and they put in the work, they're going to see the results and they're going to see what they want out of themselves with time. So we still believe in high school players. Again, but we cannot load up our team with just high school players, because if we do that, we'll get absolutely destroyed. It's just the way it is. It's NAIA, Division II, it's an older league. There's a lot of players there that have a lot of experience. 6 years ago, I didn't have 23, 24-year-olds on the roster. Now I do. It's just the way baseball has become with the COVID and the red shirts and this and that, and then gap years. So there's a lot. It's an older league. But I do believe in the high school kid. What do I look for? Obviously, I look at things. You have to look at talent, and then you have to look at character, right? The talent has to be there. Okay, now the talent's there. Now I look at the character of the player. And why is the character important? Everybody talks about character, but what we look at is not only, yes, he's a good person, he comes from a good family, the work ethic is there, but this is one thing that I look at, I don't think a lot of people look at. Is he going to have the fortitude or the internal discipline to write things out if they don't work out for him right away? Because if they do, I can bet you, I could bet a very high percentage that kid's going to be successful here. But we do mix it up. I can't tell you before. I could tell you, like, remember I told you, hey, we bring the guys in that are Miami kids or Fort Lauderdale kids that left and come back. We used to get those kids all the time. Now we have kids from everywhere. We have kids from Arizona. We have kids from Mexico. We have players from Puerto Rico. Dominican players, kids from New York, Florida, everywhere. Now we try to really go after the best. We try to get really talented kids, because, again, baseball's gotten better. Programs that weren't very good have gotten better because there's just more players available. So is there a specific way we go after guys? No. But I can tell you one thing, though. We do give opportunities. A lot more than a lot of other schools, and what I mean is
Totally agree with that, and that's why I wanted you to touch on this a little bit.
Yeah. What I mean by that is that we'll carry a large roster in the fall. Talk about 50, 51, 52 players. There's a lot of pitchers there. So it sounds like a high number, but it's really not. Um, we're able to play about 4 to 5 games now in the fall. The rules have changed, which I think it's an advantage for the players to show us more of what they can do. We go 6 weeks and another 2 weeks of individual work and with weight room and everything, and then we go 6 weeks, and they have 6 weeks to show us if they make the team or if they have to spend maybe a year on the developmental team. Um, and if there's freshmen there with some ability, I usually move them up and give them the fall. And let I got 2 players that we brought in as most probably developmental guys, but we saw things in the summer. I say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna put him on the varsity, and if he doesn't in the first couple of weeks doesn't work out, then we'll move him down. And 2 of the guys that we thought found a way to make the team. And I tell them, you should be very proud of yourself because kids just want to play. Kids want to go from high school, go to college, and play 50 games. But I tell them, listen, man, I'm very proud of you. You made, in my eyes, what I think is a very talented, experienced group that I think is going to do really well this year. And the fact that you made that team, you should be proud of you. Now you have to find a role that fits you in that program. And you got to bust your ass every day. It's not going to be easy. But there's no specific way anymore. COVID has destroyed all that. But we are going to go after guys with experience, but we're also going to give the high school player the opportunity. One last thing I would like to tell you that I think with pitching especially, I really do like high school guys. I would say that's 50-50. Guys that we get from other, in the portal maybe or recommended that was in their school or junior college. But if you look at our pitchers, I would say at least half of them were guys that came in as high school players.
And correct me if I'm wrong, George. That's a little unique to the NAIA overall process, and actually, really in all levels of 4-year baseball, where the high school guy is still part of your recruiting plans. Obviously, there's got to be criteria that make it fit and everything.
Right.
And I think that's something I wanted to get across today to players and families that are out there listening. Like there's still opportunities out there when you're looking in the right spots and when the right spots are looking at you. And in this case, you mentioned your developmental program, and I know personally of success stories, which is not the case in a lot of developmental programs across the country, right, where there's been success stories, and many of them, because of the way you utilize your developmental program to get to the varsity team and help that team win, where it's truly there's opportunities within there that are still going to be present. Again, it's up to the player. You got to produce and do the right things academically and athletically, right, and in the weight room and all that type of stuff. But I think that's what makes St. Thomas University, amongst some other things, unique, is you have a developmental program, but you're out there still recruiting high school players who are going to potentially make that roster as freshmen if they're good enough and ready to. But if not, they get some seasoning, then they come up when the timing's right. And I think, as someone in the game who knows what the ins and outs of that are a little bit, and most families don't, most players don't, there's right, a lot of value there, knowing that there's an opportunity, whether it's coming through the developmental program or whether you're ready or not, or whether you need a little sprinkling of both during the course of your right, freshman year to help St. Thomas University, accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, both on the field and obviously in the classroom as well. George, you're a Miami guy now. You've been here forever.
Right.
Even though you're originally from the Northeast, I'm sure because we have sunshine, we have the palm trees, we have the beaches, you get thousands of emails a week, and your staff. Mm-hmm. It is still part of the recruiting process if it's done targeted and properly. Tell families one quality that would stand out, or amongst one or two, when you do get an email that's going to make you open up the email, and secondly, look into whatever that email is consisting of. Tell us what is a quality that you're looking for.
Well, I think you have to get, because you're exactly right. We get so many emails. You have to have something in the first 2 sentences is going to that's going to interest us. I try, because I always try to put myself on the other side. I try to open up as many as I can, or all of them, but I don't read them to the very end. If I get an email, the guy's 5'6", 155 pounds, you know what? It's going to be tough. And And then also we got a lot from northern kids coming down that want to play. And I just know if you play Colorado high school baseball, you're not going to survive in Miami, Florida. It's going to be very, very difficult. Now pitching is different. 87 is 87 with run. Slider is a slider. A guy who's 6'2", 6. Okay, then we'll look into that. But it's I think the first couple sentences have to be something that's going to pique my interest. It could be a 60 time. Speed never goes into a slump. It could be velocity. Hey, you're a mid 80s guy, 85, 87 in high school. That's pretty good. Lefties with maybe a little bit of velo, and then obviously then I'll look at the video and go from there. One thing too, Mike, that I think is we're trying to get. We're always trying to get better as coaches, better, players trying to get better. So are we as a staff and as our program. We've invested a lot of money in technology, which before, I think with technology, people don't understand it, right? And what we tried to do the last couple of years is have a good understanding of what numbers in technology bring to us, so we can get kind of a bar of what we're looking for and what we can actually look forward and say, hey, look, this kid has his numbers. Most probably he has a chance to improve and to be the type of player we want. And maybe nobody sees that, but we do. So, man, we have 2 TrackMan units. We have True Media. We have cameras. And we're learning to use them extremely well. That's when you said about the high school pitcher. Listen, man, if I like a high school pitcher, I really want him to come down and throw in front of those machines for us. And then all of a sudden, those things are not gonna. Those machines are not gonna lie. At least ability-wise.
That is relevant. It's consistency, right, in the data. You can go back on and look at. Yeah,
it's huge. Like for example, and this is for families so that they understand. I meet with my coaches once a week. We meet every Tuesday, and we go over everything with the program. Obviously, our team, the current state of our team, who we're playing, whatever. We go over a bunch of things. But when we start talking about the recruiting or just our own pitching staff, we go back and look at those numbers to see if what we're seeing is the exact same thing the machine is telling us. And let me tell you, sometimes you go, wait a second, that's not what I thought I saw. And it helps you, it can help you a ton if you really learn how to use it. And I've really put in time with my staff members to try to learn that as much as possible, to try to give ourselves whatever edge we could have. But when you go back to the emails, man, you better push something on there. And it could be TrackMan stuff. That's huge.
It could be spin rate. It could be horizontal rate, vertical.
Anything. I'll give you a little story, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. There was a pitcher in Puerto Rico that somehow I got to write, you know how it is, man. You talk to people, and they recommended this kid highly. And I told him, hey, send me all the TrackMan stuff. And I have a kid who's he's our team manager. He does all our analytics, all our scouting reports, and he's incredible. So I got it, and I sent it to him. I didn't tell him he was a high school kid. I go, hey, what do you think of this kid? Yes or no? If he said no, I wasn't following. If he said yes, I was going to try to sign him. And he goes, Coach, I like him a lot. He gave me his reasons. I go, that's it. Boom. And all of a sudden, I signed that kid just because of the TrackMan information he sent me. And now, obviously, there's a scout that I trust a lot that sent me good things about him. So now the scout gave me a good report, but the numbers told me what they told him. And he came in here, and he was his advertisement.
And right there, you just said the word. He came as advertised. And that's what – when you come as advertised, there's a lot to that. I don't care whether you're recommending a player to sign a professional contract, whether you're recommending a player to get a college scholarship, college coaches, you recommend players to pro scouts. They got to come as advertised. And I think one of the things that data does is it kind of levels the playing field. Data is data. It's not going away.
Right.
I even read an article recently, or maybe it was a Twitter post or something, where you had a really high-powered it was a high-powered junior college program from the west coast of Florida. We'll leave it at that. Really good program.
Right.
And you guys brought those guys down, and that coach was so appreciative because he can't afford the technology that you guys have. And
Right.
he was able to take some of that data technology because you made it available to him, which you didn't have to do, but you did. you made it available to him. So now he can take that data and help his guys from the junior college ranks get to their next step in their process, whatever their journey is going to be, whether it's D1, D2, NAIA, whatever it may be, get drafted. Now he's got some tangible data in his hands that your program has. And I think, one of the things is parents and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to see this, that are going to learn a lot about NAIA baseball, what that means, and so on, and families. You get a chance, whether you're a Northern family, whether you're a Southern family, get out to a game at St. Thomas University, see the facility. It's beautiful. There's a reason why.
Mike, I have to interrupt you. It's getting better. We're turfing our facility.
I know. I keep up. Yeah. And there's a reason why there's a number of major league players in the offseason that train there, right? Yeah. Because of all the data and all the facility stuff that's there. So again, if you're a high school kid out there looking, if you're a junior college player out there looking, if you're a guy who's potentially going to go in the portal, and hey, look, the portal is what it is, right? It's not going away. It's, if you're entering that, that scenario where it's late March and you're a 4-year player, and it's looking like you're not going to play a whole lot come conference time, start looking around, start educating yourself. And that's one of the things why we do this, is want to educate people about what NAIA baseball is, just like we did about what, junior college baseball was. We brought Tyler Younger on from the Panhandle Conference, which is one of the best conferences in the country, as is our conference here in the Florida Sun Conference. In NAIA, you guys have been to the World Series multiple times, right? And again, families, you look back at the history. Back when I was at Pace as the head coach in the mid-'90s, Jim Pizzolato is there. He now works for the, arguably the best agent in baseball, Scott Boras, and he's, I think, one of his main right-hand mans. And you've got Al Avila, who coached there prior to Jim Pizzolato. You've got, Paul Maneri, who's coached there as well. And you had Manny Mantrana, who went on to become a Division I coach in AD and, rest in peace and so on, who brought you on board. And now you've come over here and continue the tradition and become the first NAIA guy that I'm aware of that was wearing a Team USA uniform. Like, you can't get a higher honor in amateur baseball or in pro baseball than wearing the Team USA uniform, as we're going to see with this WBC coming up. George, if you could give us, in closing, give us one thing that you want families, whether it's a high school kid, JUCO kid, transfer portal kid, just a student athlete in general, one thing that you would like to say, like that maybe they don't know about NAIA baseball.
Well, it's a great question. I'll tell you a couple of things. The first one is there was a high school game here the other day that they rented our facility, and I was talking to the high school head coach, and I don't want to name the school, but I have a lot of respect for their coach, and I'm asking him about some players, and he tells me, I guess they got here early, and we were still hitting batting practice. I think our last 2 rounds were still our last 2 groups hadn't hit yet, and we have the machines. Another thing too, maybe you should educate your players, is that a lot of kids don't like to hit off machines. We really believe in that. So we're going hard slider, and we got 2 machines going hard fastball. And
best way to replicate velo, yeah.
With a lot of velocity, and my guys are putting on a show. Not that I see it every day. I think we have a lot of talent. So I know what we recruited. But there was kids in that dugout. I told the coach, I go, hey, this is an NAIA school. And the coach goes, yeah. He goes, I might have to rethink the way I'm thinking about schools, because when you look at our shortstop and our third baseman, and just an example, those are 2 guys that will be playing professional baseball next year. I don't know exactly where, but should go in the draft, and if not, we'll be playing somewhere else. And so just watching it, like you said, hey, you invite people to come watch it all the time, and people just don't do their research. And then you have kids watching, and then they're themselves impressed of, wow, I didn't think that this was going to be to this level. The thing that I say is that, people get so caught up on Division I, and that's great. But the problem with Division I, and I'm not talking about the power, if you're good enough to play in a Power 4 school, playing those big time schools, great. You should go there. That's a great opportunity. But that's a very low percentage, Junior college is a great route. And I'm sure you push that a lot. For high school kids, an unbelievable route. You're going to be able to play 100 or over 100 games in 2 years and get that experience. And that's what four-year schools, Division two schools, that's what they look for. So the junior college route it's a great opportunity. Division two baseball in the Sunshine State Conference. Are you kidding me? I played in that conference. That's some great baseball. University of Tampa, you have
It's the best D2 conference in the country.
unreal.
No
You know,
question.
you have 11 schools that are play at a very, very high level. And if there was 40 rounds in the draft, you were a major league scout. There were 40 rounds in the draft. After round 20, how many Division two and NAIA players go after those rounds? They don't have that anymore.
Right.
So in our conference, I've been in this conference obviously for a long time. Our conference has gotten better and better every year to a point that just like the Sunshine State Conference, this is the best conference in the NAIA. Every weekend that you play is going to be a grind. There's no games that are given to you. You better earn everything you have. So the NAIA, I really enjoy coaching in it. The talent level has gotten from where it was maybe 20 years ago. It's unreal now compared to that. And baseball is baseball, and Florida baseball is Florida baseball. Another thing too, that everybody wants to stay home, and I tell them, listen. I talked about the kids leaving and then coming back, but and I know you're in this business. You have to find a school that wants you, a school that's going to invest in you, not just a school that you really want to go to. You know, you have to kind of open your not open your eyes, but you have to be open to different opportunities. And you could always end up back at Lynn University or Florida State or somewhere else in the future if you do well. And if your dream is Division One, don't give up on that dream. But you might have to have a different route to get there. At the end, you talked about the transfer portal, and something I would like to share, the portal, and I'm sure you've told your clients and everything. I think 34% of the kids in the portal did not find a school.
Correct.
Right? So everything's not gravy, man. You go into I'll go to the portal, I'll find myself a school. No, it's not. It's not that easy. You know, if you go to the
supply is greater than the demand, and it's
100%.
Never been higher. Yeah, it's never been higher.
Right.
And I think George, one thing I can say is this: as a parent who's been through the process, when you're a parent, you want to be able to lay your head on the pillow at the end of the night of where you're putting your kid. I don't care if it's your daughter playing volleyball, your boy playing baseball, whatever it may be. And one of the things that Coach Perez has touched on during the course of this podcast is about opportunity, finding the fit for you. He's talked about different pathways that came up, right? He's mentioned the portal and the idea that you want to go where, number one, you're wanted. Coach just brought that up, right? Listen up. There's a lot of good information that you've had here in this telecast today, this podcast, and where the opportunities are going to be. And maybe your pathway takes you to the developmental team or the JV team for the first part of the year or the first year till you're physically ready because the game has gotten a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes your program a little bit unique is how you utilize that. I'm not going to quote this, but I won't quote what I've seen and read, but I've seen text messages from Coach Perez to clients of ours that literally said, I will do whatever I can to help you moving forward in your career. I saw it. I saw it in writing and the context that it was in. I was like, wow, I can't believe a coach actually said that. And what I meant by that was in such a great way. Like he was there. You said, I'm not trying to toot your horn too much here, but I saw it. And this was 2 years ago. And it was from a high school pitcher that you were actively going after who fit the academic profile, fit the athletic profile. And you're like, hey, I'm here for you as you continue to develop. And that's a very unique quality. So that you don't see a lot in anything in life, never mind college athletics, where the world can be a little bit cutthroat. So one of the reasons why, George, I wanted to, Coach Perez, I wanted to bring you on today. I wanted to introduce you to people that don't know you. Obviously, we all know you down here in South Florida for a long time and the great job you guys do over there. But educate the general public that's going to be watching this, that's going to see clips of this, on social media about NAIA baseball, how good it is, the fact that, you got someone here who's been on a Team USA staff with a coach who's in the SEC and has won a national championship and so on. So this was, if you're a family out there today, I don't care if you're 26 still looking, you're 27, 28, you get a chance, whether you're in the Northeast or wherever you're at, go see an NAIA game, go see the level of play. If you're down here in South Florida, if you're visiting on vacation, go to the campus. I think you're going to be taken aback. It's gorgeous. And I've been around here forever, and I've seen it since the early '90s, and see, how it's developed. Back from the old Miami Dolphins training facility to back in the '70s to where it is now. It's night and day. It's beautiful. The technology is second to none. Coach, I want to thank you. I know it's a busy time of the year for you. I want to thank you for taking the time to do this with us, and thank you for educating, the baseball community, both players and families, about not only about your program, but just about NAIA baseball in general. And this was a great educational tool again in our series that we're doing for families that are out there. So, Coach, thanks a million. It's always good to see you.
Same here.
Sometimes we have to do it by podcast instead of in person. All good, and wish you guys the best of luck. As the 26th season really gets cranked up, and hopefully get back to that World Series again.
Absolutely, that's the goal. I appreciate you having me, Mike. Just I want to say one last thing to close this off, and you said something about how we try to help players. Let me explain something. There's a couple of kids that didn't make our team that were older guys that weren't going to make our team this year. Now, there are players that were on the team the year before. Both were very hard workers. One was really, disciplined. It was just a numbers game. Well, I was happy to be able to give them the information that I was able to get them other schools to go to, but they were open to that. That's what I was
leading towards. Yeah.
Right. They were open to that. I one thing, we were very honest in this office, but I always really try to help the players, especially if they do everything you ask from the beginning. They're good students. They work extremely hard, and they're 100% dedicated to what we're doing. I always find a way to help those types of players. And both these guys went to good NAIA programs around the country, and they're actually doing very well. And that's one thing that I always tell parents, man, listen, it's not just one door. And if I can help you, it's just amazing. I'm sure how much work you put into this to try to get people schools and everything. But sometimes just a call from myself or another college coach. Look, I'm well respected around the country. We've worked very hard to do that. And people know the extent of how good our program is. So when I recommend someone, they understand that it's probably going to go to that school and do pretty decently or pretty well. But again, I helped two players. Why? Because they were great people. So you have to, whatever program you have to go to, you have to bring energy every day. You have to be respectful. You have to give it everything you have, because good things will happen to you. Maybe not right away, but they will eventually. And look, these are two players that really wanted to play here, and now they're extremely happy, performing at some other places. So I'm happy to do that all the time. But again, if you don't show myself or our staff that you're that type of person, I'm not going to take my time in helping those types of players. So, you never know, man. You go one school and you end up somewhere else, but you got to be open to all types of opportunities.
When you do the right things and you surround yourself with good people, as a player, and you surround yourself with good coaches and, people who care, those are the, and I actually saw it. So that's a great story to hear. So parents, hey, look, I'll leave with this in closing. Parents, players, if Coach Perez and his staff is out there showing interest in you, whether you're a high school player, a JUCO player, you're a guy who's going to the portal, listen, take notice, because it's a great program with great people and a great history and great facilities, and there's a lot to like. So, Coach, thanks again. Super appreciative of you taking the time to do this in the middle of the season. Wish you guys the best of luck for the remainder of the spring.
All right, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for all you do, man.
You got it.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on this week's edition of the Recruiting Roundtable. Join us next time as we continue to guide athletes and their parents on the recruiting process on and off the diamond.